Just bro number 2 tonight for a special poo for you. So, wanted to jump on here, talk about a couple things. Ben will be with me here later in the week with more of our regular stuff, film breakdown. We'll give our silent but deadlies, do all this stuff. Um, have a beef or two this week as well. That's kind of like my beef tonight. Maybe I'll just do the beef tonight because that's kind of what it ultimately will be. And no surprise if you read the show title about what that beef is likely to be. It's about our HC, just so you're aware of that. Anyway, there's just some glaring things in this game to talk about that haven't gotten talked about. But what has gotten talked about, of course, and deservedly so, has a lot of everybody's attention, are all the injuries and the injuries to key guys and the major season-ending injury to Micah Parsons. So the Packers are saying all the things they should say. A lot of the national media is saying that, and other media is rightly so, saying this hurts the Packers' chances a lot at making the ultimate goal this season happen and making the 27 years old of your starting quarterback winning a Super Bowl 3 times in a row less of a possibility and less of a likelihood. But those are all things that they're talking about. But I don't know how Packer fans feel. I'm sure there's some who still believe. There are clearly some things that have to happen for that to come together by some of these other players, right? Rashawn Gary is going to have to be way more impactful. Lucas Van Ness is going to have to start playing like the guy they thought he was going to be, or Goody thought he was going to be when he picked him at number 13. Quay Walker is going to have to be more impactful. Edrin Cooper is going to have to run around and make plays. Xavier McKinney is going to have to catch interceptions. Like, all that stuff's going to have to happen. And the defense is going to have to carry him at times. And this run game is going to have to get way more consistent and untracked. However, this head coach also needs to attempt the runs in order for the running game to get going and to be effective. And that's one of my big caveats of this particular last game. That was a big issue. All right, so let's talk about a couple of interesting things here before we get into a little sound from Matt LaFluer and then talking about a few things. Some guys showed up this game that get paid a lot of money and usually don't show up that much. One of them was Josh Jacobs. Josh Jacobs has been fine, right? He's been fine this year. But in this game, made some big plays. I sure the hell didn't think he was going to score on that 40-yard run. Longest run as a Packer, if I'm not mistaken, and definitely, or tied for it. And definitely, I did not think he was going to get to the end zone, but he did. So give him credit for that. Also, the catch he made, amazing. Incredible strength with his hands to hold the ball, right? To not let it jostle, not let it become potentially overturned, because nobody knows what a catch is anymore in the NFL. Like, it's all over the place. In some cases, they're counting it a catch and counting the step as soon as the ball touches the guy's fingertips. In other cases, they got to secure the ball and do all this stuff in order to count it as a catch. Like, who the hell? I don't know. I don't know what's going on. But the biggest thing, like, there's a good breakdown from Mike Florio and Chris Sims about this too, about the inconsistencies of it. And not just that, but that the officials are sometimes getting it right on the field and then it's overturned from replay assist. And we don't know why. It doesn't look, we're not sure what they're doing. And it's not consistent. And you go back to the Steelers and Ravens game a couple of weeks ago and getting some explanations on the calls they overturned in that game with replay assist. Blow your mind. They don't make sense. The answers don't make sense. What do you do? The NFL's got to clean that up. But let's look at our guys. So Josh Jacobs showed up in this game, had a good game, right? Was an impactful player in this game. So one thing we don't understand is why he only got 12 carries. Now, I know he got his knee dinged up early in the game. Matt LaFleur talked about it, but he was still out there. He was still playing a lot of the game. Matt LaFleur just decided to call a bunch more pass plays and only 12 rushing attempts for Josh Jacobs in a game where he was actually showing up and doing a lot of good stuff. Only 4 other rushing attempts for running backs, by the way. So a total of 16 rushing attempts for the Packers running backs in this game compared to 40 passing attempts. And Jordan Love had 3 carries for 29 yards. And those are also passing attempts that he decided to run on because he didn't have any other carries, as far as I'm aware of. There were no called runs for Jordan Love. Let's just be real about that. So 43 passing attempts versus 16 rushing attempts for your running backs, 1 to Bo Melton as well on an end around. And that was it. That was the extent of a running game in a contest that was always close. You either had the lead as the Green Bay Packers or the game was close. So how do you explain, and this is my beef with Matt LaFleur, and these are the things that you can't explain away for him. And no one asked him specifically about this because there's all the focus on the injuries, is why in a contest, in a game where you're going against a defense that has elite pass rushers and great defensive backs, including a guy who was defensive player of the year recently, why did you drop back 43 times? And why did your running backs only get 16 attempts? Why was that your play calling? And Matt LaFleur will explain it away. And, we wanted to get on track and we wanted to get going and we wanted to do this. And then we had a penalty or we had this and that. You know what I saw just recently? I saw on Sunday, the Bears game. I saw some of it, a couple of instances. Ben Johnson runs it on first down. They lost a couple of yards or lost a yard. It's 2nd and 11. You know what he did on second down? He ran it again. He ran the ball again. Like, you have to factor in what you're good at. You also have to factor in what your opponent is least good at. And this is the issue Matt LaFleur has by not understanding how to attack his opponents very well. Because you wanted to make the Broncos, and we said it last week. Ben and I said it, and probably a bunch of people said it. I hope a bunch of people said it because it was pretty obvious. You want to make this team defend the run. You want to run the ball against this team. And this was not a game where the running game was taken away from you because it was always close, and it was always you either had the lead or were within 1 score. So why 12 rushing attempts for Jacobs, 16 for your running backs, and 43 pass attempts in this game? Why? Why was that your play selection, Matt LaFleur? I give you a chance to answer if I was in the press room right there. That's what I would ask. And then I wait to hear what his answer is. Now, I'm assuming it wouldn't be a very good answer because it doesn't make sense on any level. Now, if I'm not mistaken, the Broncos were also the leading sack team in the NFL. They were also potentially could break the Bears' all-time sack record, right? Knowing those things, also, why? Doesn't that even make you think you would want to run the ball more than pass it or be even more balanced as opposed to being where you were? 43. I know the 3 Jordan Love had to run on, so those counted as rushing attempts, but those are actually dropbacks. So we're going to call them what they were, 43 dropbacks versus 16 rushes for your particular running backs, and 1 for Bo Melton for whatever reason. And I love Bo Melton, but why are we giving him that carry? I don't know why. So those things don't make sense in my mind. I hope they don't make sense in your mind because they're hard to comprehend. They're hard to make sense of. Here's something interesting. Now, we'll let the man himself, Matt LaFleur, talk a little bit about something which might make you even question this even a little bit more. Because you could say he didn't realize it. He didn't know that the Broncos were that good at pass defense or rushing the passer. So He was like, well, and we're doing pretty good passing the ball, so let's just pass the ball and not run it. But here's Matt LaFleur asked in his press conference today. Obviously, the press conference after the game, very focused on the injuries, very difficult to get any other answers about anything else because nobody asked it. They're very focused on the injuries. But here's what he had to say today and asked this question, and let's just give it a listen.
What was missing? I mean, you obviously feel like you can score in those situations. You've got 2 minutes.
Well, I think when you're down on the road against an elite pass rush like they have, I mean, you're kind of playing into their hands, and they did a good job of going out there and winning in some situations that got us kind of our passing game off rhythm, and either by getting to the quarterback or making a move. Certainly, I know we had a couple busted assignments, which when you're talking about those critical moments, you cannot have. That's when everybody has to be at their absolute best. And we had a busted assignment. We had a penalty. So it makes it that much harder.
So those are a lot of reasons. Some would say excuses. But he laid it out for you right there. That's an elite pass rush. You're playing into their hands. Now, he talked about it when you're behind, but you weren't behind very much, Matt LaFleur. You weren't behind very much in this game. So why were you playing into their hands? You just said you knew that was playing into their hands. So once again, I asked the question, why 43 pass attempts, drop backs, 40 pass attempts, because your quarterback ran 3 times, and only 12 carries for Josh Jacobs, who was doing well, 4 carries for your other running backs. Why did we not try to make the Broncos play run defense more, which they don't want to play? They want to play pass defense. Why did we not do that? Why did we play against their strength? Lastly, a point on this is, I talked about this last week. I talked about how the Packers had been feasting on man coverage, had been feasting against blitzes, and especially because when teams blitz, you also get a lot of man coverage. Okay, Jordan Love, you don't have to be as accurate. There's more space. It's generally the defenders have their backs turned, all that stuff, right? The Broncos, who are one of the best man coverage teams in the NFL, okay? They like to play man. They're good at it. In this game, per Next Gen Stats, they played zone over 70% of the defensive snaps. Zone. So, that was the one thing I was concerned about, right? The Packers have been feasting on man coverage. That's how the passing games look so good. That's how Jordan Love was looking so good. That's all these things were happening. I was concerned that if somebody decided to play a lot of zone against them, that it would expose some of the issues. Jordan Love not as quick to get rid of the ball, not as much space, not as much latitude to just kind of throw it up there and let his guy find it. Defenders looking at Jordan Love when he throws the ball and maybe able to pick it off easier versus guys with their backs turned, right? Over 70% of the snaps, Broncos played zone in this game. Now, I really and seriously hope this is not a flashback, history repeating itself from 2015, where the Packers were tearing it up against everybody for years. And then they went to Denver in a 2015 game, and the Broncos beat up their receivers, pressed them up, found a different way, didn't play scared against Aaron Rodgers and the tools he had then, found a different way to play defense, a physical man attacking defense against them and throw off the timing, and completely set the blueprint for how to stop that Packers passing attack. Did this Denver Broncos team just show the rest of the NFL the blueprint for stopping this Packers pass attack? I don't know. I hope not. Not everybody's going to have as good of a pass rush as the Broncos. I get it. But The fact that Jordan Love is not as accurate as some other quarterbacks plays into it. Zone's harder, right? Well, you've got more bodies in the way. If you can get there with your pass rush, you put all those things together, that's a recipe for difficulty. So once again, why didn't we run it more? And lastly, with the zone defensive calls in general, that means you've got more players covering deep portions, not as many guys up on the line. In the most of those situations, teams will, again, choose to run the ball more and not try to throw it as much. So Matt LaFluer was not asked point blank about it. We don't know why. He should have been. That's what he needed to answer to. Now, the other spin-off of this is the injury to Christian Watson, right? Now, I know he's back with the team. I know there's things they're evaluating. I know maybe there's even a chance he could be back this coming week. But we lost him for that game, for a big portion of the game. We'd already lost Zach Tom, which was a huge injury. And there's one other big-time injury I want to mention that nobody's talking about. And then there's a couple other ones that people kind of poo-pooed a little bit. One of them was Zach Tom. People kind of forgot about that. They're like focused on Parsons and Watson. Well, you take a look at the situation coming into that Christian Watson play and injury. The Packers got the ball to start the second half, ran a bunch on that opening drive. Josh Jacobs had the 40-yard touchdown run. We were doing something. We pulled some momentum back. We were alive. We were getting physical. Let's go. They get a 3-and-out. The defense gets a 3-and-out and stops the team. Now, unfortunately, on the 40-yard touchdown, they lost Zach Tom. That hurts. But I would even say you just lost your starting right tackle, who's a very good player. Even more so, the first snap of Kennard playing right tackle, we're going deep. What are we doing that for? What are we taking a deep shot for when we just took the lead? We just started to take command of this game. Our defense just got a 3-and-out. Like, let's pound them. Let's control the ball. Let's make Bo Nix think a little bit more about it because he got way too comfortable and looked as good as I've ever seen Bo Nix look in this game. Granted, that happened. Bo Nix played phenomenal. I thought for sure he was not going to be that accurate and not that impactful in the game, and he was. I thought the Packers' defensive backs would play better. I thought Keyshawn Nixon would play better. He played terrible, right? Some of our guys this game, Keyshawn Nixon, Kingsley Enagbare, Emmanuel Wilson did not have good games, right? Emmanuel Wilson, I know he was sick. I know all that stuff was coming around, but he looked like he was running passive. He looked like he was sick and probably shouldn't even have been in the game. Keyshawn Nixon was playing a lot of man coverage for some reason and getting beat on double moves left and right. Like he was buying the short route and they kept beating him over the top after giving him a short double move, and he was giving up plays. He was out of his element covering guys. And Kingsley, once he had to be in there more and once he had to chase guys more, he didn't look as fast. He didn't look as impactful. He didn't look as good. So that was really disappointing for me. I'm sure for Ben too. But those guys, were not the guys that we expected to see. But lastly, yes, Xavier McKinney drops 2 interceptions. But I'm going to tell you, Xavier McKinney, this was one of the best games I've seen him play as a Packer. He was actually, Bo Nix. Thanks, Ben. Accurate and elusive, 2 things Love is not. Well, in this game, he was accurate. Most games, he's not very accurate. I totally didn't expect it, but he is very elusive and he's pretty damn fast. In this game, he was freaking throwing bullets. So, damn. But anyway, I do want to say that about about the Watson bomb again, just didn't have to happen. Why? Why are we calling that shot play there? And Matt LaFleur said it. We want to take a shot. We'll get the coverage we wanted. We're taking a shot. Patrick Surtain, best defensive back the Broncos have, but one of the best in the league. Some would say maybe the best. With a less than accurate quarterback who's getting a lot of pressure put on him. Throwing a deep ball again to Christian Watson, a bomb up there. Why? It's the wrong guy, the wrong play, the wrong time. There was no need for it. you were starting to gain a bit of control over this game, and a drive where you just ran it down their throats, try running it down their throats again. If they stop that, then do something else. But if they don't stop it, just keep doing it. It's the old Bob Hafman rule. He's not really Uncle Bob, but we kind of felt like he was Uncle Bob. He'd call the same play until they stopped it. And there were teams this year in the NFL calling the same running play against certain teams, 7, 8 times in a row, or 7 out of 9 plays. Run it until they stop it, until they show you they can stop it. But Matt LaFluer, we got to take our deep shot. We got to be aggressive. You know what? Running the ball can also be aggressive. Doesn't mean you're not being aggressive because you want to run the ball. You're being aggressive in the way that you're taking it to the other team. And you're trying to be aggressive to take control of this game, to physically take control of this game and take the wind out of the other team's sails and beat them down. That's what running the ball over them can be. What does Ben say now? Denver's D was aggressive and violent. Yes, and that leads me to one of the injuries that nobody talked about, which was our guy Wiley getting smoked and being knocked out of the game early on. That I think was also a big blow to this Packers team that nobody's talking about. Because that guy has been making a bunch of good football plays. He's been a key guy in a lot of running, lead blocking on runs, kick out blocks, doing the stuff across the formation, the same sort of play that safety attacked and totally took him out. That guy missing was also a big blow. And I think it changed some things in the way the Packers wanted to run the ball, but it also changed where other guys went. It meant Musgrave was more in the 2 tight end sets. It meant Fitzpatrick had to play more, right? Like all the things that came off of that were just as impactful as Zach Tom leaving the game. But yeah, Greenlaw and some of these guys they're very aggressive players, right? They're very aggressive players. And they played aggressively. And that dude just came up and smoked Wiley. I mean, some people are like, what kind of attempt at a block is that? But there's nothing he could do. He's running out in front. When you're leading, let me just give a quick bit of a concept here for anyone who hasn't had to run as a lead blocker or block in space ever at any football level. You want to come out, and yes, you want to be aggressive, but you also have to make sure you don't miss. So when you're coming out like that and you're leading on a play and there's a defender that you have to block, you can't just go out and attack a guy. So if a guy comes flying in like that guy did to Wiley, there's not much else you can do. There really isn't. Because if he tried to match that and tried to go get him and then totally whiffed, you're screwed. Then your guy with the ball carrier is screwed. Even worse. So there's not a lot more he could have done there. And you have to be under control when you're in space trying to block. And then once you get on the guy, then you try to stay on him. That's the most important part. If you can drive him, great. But the biggest part is trying to get to him, get on him, and stay on him. But that does not give you much of an opportunity to be that physical. So if somebody comes in there and attacks you like that, you're kind of screwed. Hey, Greg's here. Watson should have caught the deep shot. Ooh, Lee, come on now. Took his legs out from under him. Yep. That was a tough one. That's how Wiley got to, and Wiley's injury. Nobody. I didn't hear a damn person talk about it after the game. That was a big one to why the Packers struggled after that too. And maybe it changed Matt LaFleur's mind. Maybe that's the answer why Matt LaFleur called 43 pass plays and only 16 rushing attempts, because Wiley went out. But it's not a good enough reason. You still got to run the ball. Deep shot after Tom went out is totally crazy. You're right. But I already said that. And you agree with me, which is why I'm telling you you're right there, Greg. Anyway, lastly, before I go, sorry, I'm used to having more of a break here. Rashawn Gary also kind of showed up in this game. He did. He made a couple of plays. He closed down the line a couple of times. He looked a little faster. He put a little pressure on at times. I was impressed. Now, is that going to be good enough to, make up for Micah Parsons being out? Probably not. But at least it was something. At least it was better than what we've seen from Gary for a while. And I'll say this about McKinney, right? I know, dropped the 2 picks, but he defended passes in this game. He broke up some passes. He made tackles. He attacked plays more than I've seen him ever as a Packer. And I didn't watch him when he's with the Giants, but as a safety tackler, diagnosing and helping to tackle, this was his best game as a Packer. And it comes on a game where everyone's probably criticizing the hell out of him because he dropped 2 interceptions. But I'm telling you, from a pure football standpoint, this was his best all-around safety game as a Packer. It's just unfortunate. The one thing that he's been good at, which is catching the football, he couldn't do in this one. Jogging, come on. Gary was doing, go back and you watch the whole film, Ben. You watch the whole film, and you'll see Gary actually getting some pressure on Nix, actually making some closing opportunities. Now, there was the one play where he was so slow and Parsons like ran right past him from the other side. That was freaking hilarious. How many picks did we miss? Yeah, we missed too many. I don't know that Valentine's was really a good op for him, but McKinney's were pretty good opportunities to get him. Weren't impressed by Gary. I'm not saying I was impressed. I'm saying that's better than he's been. I'm saying he actually kind of showed up, and at least you saw him do a couple things in this game versus be completely a non-factor, like a guy you don't even know is on the field. 29 sucked. We watched a different game. All right, show me. I'm watching the game. I'm like, McKinney's actually tackling people. He's actually breaking up some passes. He's actually kind of looking a little more aggressive. Now he couldn't catch the picks, and that's what everybody's going to remember. So I gave you all the information. I gave you the zone, more than 70% of zone coverage by the Broncos in this game. The big other key thing for LaFluer being a piece of garbage, calling so many pass plays. Those are the keys to the game, guys. And again, the total unnecessary bomb to Watson was also the play Watson got hurt on. So that play shouldn't have happened. Didn't need to be called there. Shouldn't even have been a situation Christian Watson was in. But his coach put him in it because he wanted to take that deep shot. How about you take the pound it right down their throat shot after you just ran all over their ass? Show me some Gary jogging. I'll take that. Jogging this game was going to be a problem because of the altitude. Yeah, that's true too. Guys are winded. That stuff's real. I mean, if you've never been to Colorado before, it's definitely a factor. It definitely takes a while to adjust, and it definitely, when you're not used to it, it can be difficult. And a lot of these guys definitely are not used to it living in Green Bay, Wisconsin half the year. Well, that's most of my thoughts on the game. The other thing, other than LaFleur's terrible comment, so I know Love had the 2 picks, bad throws, not great decisions. But again, Matthew Golden was bad. I mean, here's the distribution again. 4 targets for Golden, 6 for Jaden Reed, 6 for Luke Musgrave, who was pretty effective as a pass catcher in this game. Now, again, he's not going to do anything with it after he catches it, but he did make some decent catches in this game. Romeo Doubs, only 3 targets. Kind of weird to me, especially in a game where, you lost Christian Watson early in the second half. 3 catches for Romeo, or for Christian Watson, 3 catches on 5 targets. Romeo had 2 catches on 3. Josh Jacobs made probably one of the best plays he's made as a Packer on that touchdown reception. I mean, that was impressive. And John Fitzpatrick had kind of a rougher game too. I mean, not great. Maybe losing Wiley affected him too. I don't know. I don't know if his head was spinning because they were asking him to do some of the stuff Wiley normally does. I don't know. But this Packer tight end situation is also not great unless Wiley comes back right away. Because Luke Musgrave is not a blocker. And the Packers run a lot of stuff that they need 2 tight ends who are willing and at least decent at blocking. We'll see how that plays out. And then, of course, losing Evan Williams was a big one too. Maybe they could have stopped him from scoring the last touchdown. I don't know. But here's who we're pinning our hopes to. We'll do some film review with Ben on and give you that other stuff later in the week. Pinning our hopes to Edrin Cooper, waking up and becoming like a maniac. Quay Walker playing for a contract. Rashawn Gary playing worth his contract. Lucas Van Ness playing like the number 13 pick. That's what we're banking on right now to be impactful guys. Now, you may have noticed, one other quick side note before I go. You may have noticed that for a couple of plays when Quay Walker had to leave the game and Isaiah McDuffie got the green dot again, was in the middle. That defense looked pretty damn good for a few plays there until Quay got back. I'm just saying. I hope Jeff Hafley takes note of that and says, maybe Quay, we could use you kind of as like this third linebacker. Because for whatever reason, McDuffie, a better tackler, knows what's going on, knows what to do, attacks plays. You could put them up side by side and you would never pick McDuffie over Quay Walker on his talent. But damn, the guy's just a football player. He's a football player. And he tackles people. And he's smart as hell. He's going to give you every damn thing he has all the time. But I did notice that. It was different. There was a difference here. Ben, I hope you can pluck out a couple of those plays where I'm talking about when Walker went out and McDuffie went back in, had the green dot for a bit. It looked good. It looked good again. And this is not something that's an aberration. We've seen it every time McDuffie gets put in that position. It looks good. And this is go time. You are now the 7 seed going up against the Bears. If you lose this one, you still got 2 games to end the season that aren't so easy. We'll see how they do. All right. You guys stay good, be good. We'll get you soon for another Packer Outright Opinions. This has been Pooh with number. Tell me why, unicorn,